Welcome. Today we shall be looking at the introduction to IELTS examination. IELTS stands for International English Language Testing System. And for more than 40 years, IELTS has set the standard for English language testing to help people achieve their professional, personal and academic ambitions. This system is jointly owned by the British Council, IDP, IELTS and the Cambridge University Press in Assessment. IELTS is the most popular English proficiency test among non-native English speakers who want to study, work or migrate to English-speaking countries. The British Council is the UK's international organization for education opportunity and cultural relations, whereas IDP is a leader in global education services. IDP specializes in combining human expertise with a leading digital platform to help people get accepted in the ID courses, take an English language test, or learn English in their schools. These two, the IDP and British Council, are the examiners of IELTS. Cambridge English is part of the Cambridge University. It develops and produces world-leading examination, for example IELTS, and tests for learners and teachers of English. It is part of the University of Cambridge Press and Assessment. There are two main IELTS modules, that is the IELTS Academic and IELTS General Training. The IELTS test that is right for you depends on whether your main goal is to study or to work in the chosen country. And in these modules, there are 4 papers: listening, reading, writing and speaking. There are 4 parts of the IELTS testing: the reading, writing, speaking and listening. Candidates who appear for both academic and general training modules take the same speaking and listening test, but different reading and writing test. The IELTS academic test is meant for students who want to pursue higher education at universities which are overseas, where English is the primary language, whereas IELTS general training is for those who want to apply for study below the degree level or for work purposes. IELTS general training can also be taken up for work purposes or other employment training. Of importance to note is that the listening, reading and writing sections are completed on the same day, while the speaking section can be completed up to a week before or after other sections have been done. Let's have a look at IELTS Academic. If you're planning to study in an English-speaking country, it is more likely that the IELTS Academic is the right choice for you. The test assesses if you're ready to begin studying in English, and it features vocabulary that is familiar within the academic setting. So the IELTS Academic test is supposed to be more difficult than the IELTS General Training test. You can take the IELTS Academic for professional registration purposes, university admission and education, or higher education in general. So if you plan to study in higher education or seek professional registration, you can take IELTS Academic test. Then in the IELTS General Training, this test is suitable for those wishing to migrate to English-speaking countries, for example Australia, Canada, New Zealand and the United Kingdom, and for those who wish to train or study at a below degree level. This test assesses everyday English language skills that you need in social situations and in workplace environment. So, if your goal is to study secondary education, to work, or to migrate to an English-speaking country, you need to take IELTS General Training. IELTS can be done either on paper or on computer. You take exactly the same exam with the same content and the same structure. The only difference is that you choose to write the answers on a computer or on a paper. Whichever suits you the best is what you choose. But in this training, we really like to recommend our students to take IELTS on paper. Then let's look at the first part of IELTS, that's the IELTS listening. The IELTS listening test is the same for both IELTS Academic module and IELTS General Training. The duration of IELTS listening test is approximately 30 minutes and 10 minutes are provided an extra for transferring your answer to the answer sheet. In IELTS listening, you have 4 subsections. And in each subsection, you have 10 questions each. That means IELTS listening has 40 questions in total. These 40 questions are related to social, educational, and training contexts. And remember, the IELTS listening audio is only played once, and you cannot repeat it or you have no control over it. So you need to be keen, listen as you write. The second part is the IELTS reading. The IELTS reading test is different in both IELTS Academic and IELTS General Training test, and we shall look at these differences. Let's start with the IELTS General Training test. The duration of reading test is 1 hour, and in which candidates are required to complete the 3 sections consisting of 40 questions in total. The section 1 consists of 2 or 3 factual topics which are mostly spoken in the English-speaking countries. And then the section 2 has 2 factual tests that are related to work, for example, the workplace facilities and company policies. Then lastly, the section 3 is usually the last section, which comprises of complex texts related to general interest topics. IELTS reading in academic is quite different, and in this test, the candidates are required to complete 3 sections, totaling to 40 questions within 60 minutes. You will have no extra time to transfer your answers. Therefore, in the 1 hour that you're given, you need to answer the questions as well as transfer your answers to the answer sheet. The texts in the academic test are supposed to be more challenging than in the general test, and they're usually taken from magazines, books, newspapers, and are related to the academic topics. Then looking at the IELTS writing is different in both IELTS General Training and IELTS Academic. In IELTS General Training, the duration of the writing module is 1 hour, that is 60 minutes. You have 2 tests, Task 1 and Task 2. In Task 1, you are presented with a situation and asked to write a letter requesting information or explaining the situation. This letter may be personal, semi-formal, or a formal in style. And in Task 2, you will be asked to write an essay in response to a point of view, an argument, discussion, or a problem. In IELTS Academic, the writing test takes again 1 hour, that is 60 minutes, and within these 60 minutes, you're required to complete 2 tasks. In Task 1, you're asked to describe some of the visual information, for example, graphs, bar charts, etc., in 150 words in about 20 minutes. In Task 2, you're required to respond to a point of view question or argument. And in this task, you should write not less than 250 words. And approximately when you divide these tasks, you need to spend about 20 minutes in Task 1 and 40 minutes in Task 2. This is because the Task 1 accounts for about 1/3 of your marks and Task 2 accounts for roughly 2/3 of your marks. That's why you have to spend more time in Task 2. Let's then look at IELTS speaking. IELTS speaking is the same in both academic and general training. So in the speaking test, you will have a face-to-face interview between the test taker, who is the candidate, and the examiner. The speaking test is usually recorded, and there are 3 parts of this test. Each part follows a specific pattern of tasks in order for the test. There are 3 parts to this test, and each part follows a specific pattern of tasks in order to test your speaking ability in different ways. In part 1, you will be asked about yourself, about your familiar topics, for example, your home, your family, your studies, or your interests. Then in part 2, you're shown a card, or you're given a card by your examiner, then given a minute to prepare about a particular topic, then you must speak up to 2 minutes, and then you answer the general questions on the topic. And lastly, in part 3, further questions will be asked on the topic related to the part 2. How is IELTS scoring done? The individual scores for listening, reading, writing and speaking are equally weighted and then converted to the IELTS 9-band scale for the cumulative or for the final score. The overall band is calculated by taking a mean results for all parts of the test. On the right side of this presentation, we have an overview of the IELTS 9-band scale for both academic, general and listening.